If you're watching this on the day the video comes out, then it's my birthday. Hi guys, welcome back, bienvenue and all that jazz. I figured since it's my birthday, I might as well do the fun little birthday book tag. So this one's pretty long and pretty in-depth, so let's just dive straight into it, shall we? So question number 1 is Birthday Cake, a book with a plot that seems cliche, but you adore it anyways. I guess for this one I'll cheat a little bit and say Dracula by Bram Stoker, and I think it has become cliche at this point because it's been around for so flippin' long. This is a cliche book, or a book that launched a cliche. So it counts. Whatever. It's my birthday. So yeah, I mean, I really like Dracula. I don't totally know why I like it so much. There's like creepy castle, kind of slow descent into madness, murder. It's just really, I mean, it's my favorite classic that I think I've ever read. So Dracula is my birthday cake. Oh. Okay, question 2 is Unopened Gifts, your most anticipated book release of the year. So, I mean, we are quite late in the year. I have quite a few anticipated releases still coming out in November and December. I have a whole Q4 2022 anticipated release video on my channel. So I can link that just in case you're curious for all of the things that I have kind of on my radar for the rest of this year. But obviously, like many, I am a basic ass bitch. And my probably most anticipated book for the remainder of the year is The Lost Metal. It's book 4 in Era 2 of Brandon Sanderson. And so for people who have read Era 1, so that's the Final Empire, the Well of Ascension, and the Hero of Ages, people always talk about how there is a huge tonal shift to book 2 and blah, blah, blah. And people always talk about Era 2 like it's lesser. I prefer to think of it as just serving a different vibe altogether. So it's much more like mystery focused, almost like CSI like, especially in book 2. Book 1 is this like kind of heisty-ish vibe, trying to figure out how these people are stealing what they're stealing and just kind of figuring out what's going on. And then in book 3, it really starts to expand and you start to see how it's going to probably start to connect to Era 1 a little bit more and probably to the broader Cosmere in book 4. And so I've been doing the read along with Angela over at Literature Science Alliance, and Elle from Elliot Brooks, and Michael Knipp, and Jess Owens was with us for the first couple books, and now Stephanie from Miss Richards Reads is with us, and it's just a lot of fun. The buddy read experience makes everything better, TBH, for me personally, and so I've just been having a great time going through Era 2, and I can't wait for The Lost Metal to kind of conclude this Mistborn journey for now, until Era 3, and then 4. Okay, question 3 is Birthday Presents, a book that surprised you with how much you loved it. So this one, I don't get all that shocked all that often. I tend to go into everything kind of hoping to love it and then being disappointed. And so I am 50% in right now, but it's going to be my answer for this question. And that would be The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. So I went in not knowing much about what I was going to be getting myself into. I just knew that Angela and Jashana both really loved both The Jasmine Throne and the follow-up, The Oleander Sword. And so I was like, whatever, I've had the book for a long time. I'm going to check it out. And like, the vibes are this kind of weird, creepy, blighted forest with this like nature magic with elements of body horror. And there's just these great characters where one of them had childhood trauma. We're unpacking that and learning more about what happened to her. The other one, her brother wants to sacrifice her and she wouldn't allow it. So now she's basically been imprisoned and left off in this remote corner of the Empire to kind of die, because he wants her to be so uncomfortable that she chooses to sacrifice herself. And there's just so many questions like, why did he want that? What did she do? What does that gain him? What had happened to the other character? Like, she's a little bit more involved with the nature magic. Like, how? What's going on? It's just this really slow unfolding of this like super atmospheric temple that, I don't know, it's just like giving me everything I wanted that I didn't know I needed. And I don't really hear people talk about The Jasmine Throne ever, except for those two, and I'm surprised. The writing is beautiful without being purple. The characterizations are great. There's creepy body horror vibes, nature-based magic. It's a lot of fun so far, and I'm just surprised at how much I'm enjoying the journey. So then question 4 is the happy birthday song, and that is name a book that certainly deserved all the hype it got. So I tend to try to be cautious with hype trains these days because the expectation versus reality game is real. When you go into something with astronomical expectations, it's almost impossible to not be disappointed. But I will say a book that has a lot of praise and is quite hyped that I read for the first time this year and loved was the Song of Ice and Fire series, especially A Game of Thrones and A Clash of Kings are the two that I've read so far. And those are particularly lauded, praised books. And I have been just loving my time with it. I am a big fan of the Game of Thrones TV show, and contrary to most people, I did also have fun with season 8. I didn't think it was much of a dire train wreck and ruined everything, like all of the doom and gloom people out there that just got so angry at the show and couldn't even talk about the books for years because the show made them so, like, I'm not that person. I had a fun time with it. Bite me. But the books are phenomenal. They are slow-paced political fantasy, very expansive. We get perspectives all over the world, different people, different social statuses, the twists, the turns, the plotting, the maneuvering, the characters. It's just phenomenal, and it is the most fun ride. And I can't wait to continue my reading journey with Madison from Madison Goodyear, because we are reading A Storm of Swords in November. In November. French. Okay, question 5 is birth year. Name a book that was published the year that you were born. I have 2. So Homeland, book 1 of the Drizzt saga. It's book 1 of the Dark Elf trilogy. Was published the year I was born. And so I have a whole thing delving into the Forgotten Realms, why I love it, all of the different places that you could start, because there's many different series that aren't necessarily connected. They're just in a shared world. And so I'll link that video if you want more information about the Dark Elf trilogy in particular, or the Forgotten Realms at large. But the other book that I have was Dragonwing by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. This is book 1 of the Deathgate cycle, also came out the year that I was born. And this is a 6 or 7 book series where there's almost these different like planes or worlds that we kind of travel between, and each world is like a different element. There's like the fire world, the water world, and it's just classic fantasy, but with like twists and turns, and it was a lot of fun. There's like rune-based magic and dragon riding and just kind of learning what's going on in all of these different worlds and why these worlds were separated the way that they were. And it's a great time. I would highly recommend you check out Dragonwing and the Deathgate cycle if you are ever so inclined. But book 1 came out the year I was born. Okay, question 6 is getting older. I mean, rude, like I already know, but goddamn. And it's a book that you read a long time ago that you think that you might appreciate more now. And so I have been an avid reader my whole life, so there are many books that I think could fall into this, but one that I don't talk about all that much that I read when I was probably 13 is The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. And this is basically like Da Vinci Code, but we're searching for Vlad the Impaler. We are going to all these different monasteries, kind of following his footsteps and kind of just tracking where he's been throughout the ages, you know what I mean? Where like he was at this monastery from this year to this year, and then they're just kind of like trying to find Vlad the Impaler. So it's very atmospheric, very vibey, very mystery-y. And it very much has that flavor of like a Dan Brown Da Vinci Code type book, but we're with vampires. So it's great. I would highly recommend it. And I don't ever hear anybody talk about it. I think recently I heard Brittany from Books with Brittany maybe mentioned it, but besides me, she's the only person who's ever talked about it. So join us. Okay, question 7 is Sweet Birthday Memories. And so this is name a book that kept you incredibly happy during a sad or demanding period of your life. So I know I joke around a lot and have like a very sarcastic, sassy personality, but growing up as a gay man was particularly challenging. There was many issues and kind of abuse in my family that I had to deal with growing up. And then I was growing up in a kind of weird rural town in the mountains, and a few towns over there was neo-Nazi movements and things like that. And so just like things were very challenging for me. And so I was a very like, I guess Katya felt bad for me and just wanted to join. But anyways, so just like life was hard. And so books were always my escape. So there are many books that kind of helped me through hard times, because pretty much hard times were the name of the game, to be totally honest with you. So, but the book that I have on here is one of my favorite books that I remember reading as a child, and that's Time Cat by Lloyd Alexander. And so Time Cat, we follow this kind of time traveling cat who's blessed by like Egyptian deities, and it's just this fun adventure with a magical cat. So like, I mean, I obviously like cats, and it's just a fun time. It's so wholesome and just I used to want escapism, and it was like one of the only things that kept me going, and just being able to escape into books was the name of the game, and Time Cat still sticks out in my memory all these years later. Then Question 8 is party guests. If you could spend your birthday with any fictional character, who would it be and why? And so I always stumble over questions like this because I am more of a plot-driven reader than I am a character-driven reader. And so characters don't necessarily always like stick in my feels as hard as I feel like many of the other booktubers. So I don't always remember books for the characters. I remember books for the cool world, magic, and plot. But the first thing that came to mind is like basically any of the adorable children from the house in the Cerulean Sea. I want to hang out with the cute little blob who wants to be a bellhop. If he wants to carry my backpack and it brings him joy, like have at it, friend. I want to meet the gnome who just wants to dig and have her garden. Like that would just be so much fun and bring a joie de vivre, just having all of that positive, happy energy. So that will be my answer to this one. Then question 9 is time of the season. Find a book that takes place in the season you were born in. So I'm born in the fall time because Halloween is the birthday. And so a book that takes place in kind of the fall season, I would say is Small Spaces. It's book 1 in the Small Spaces Quartet by Katherine Arden. It is a middle grade spooky series and it's complete. I have read the entire quartet. It's all just a super fun time. In book 1, we're kind of on this school outing to this farm that has like a corn maze. And when you go into the corn maze, we kind of go behind the mist and meet the smiling man. And there's animated freaky scarecrows and it's just a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend you check out the Small Spaces Quartet if you like spooky, but not necessarily like horror. It's not gonna be horror. Like you're not gonna have blood, guts, all of that stuff. It's middle grade, spooky vibes, very atmospheric. And each book is supposed to take place in a different season. So the fall one is Small Spaces. Question 10 is Color of Love. Find a book that is the color of your birthstone. So I had to Google it because I have no idea what my birthstone is. My birthstone is apparently opal, which is kind of hard to pin down a color because there's different kinds of opals. So the opal that I chose to kind of go with is the one that's white and has these kind of like reflective rainbowy bits in it depending on how the light hits it. And so to match that color, I chose the UK cover for Warbreaker. It has that white background with all of those different kind of colors on it. And that's the best I could think of because opal is kind of a weird one to try to match because it's not any single color. If you somehow have been living in a cave with your phone disconnected because you forgot to pay the bills, then you might not know what Warbreaker is, but it is currently a standalone from Brandon Sanderson. However, he does plan to go back to this world and continue the story. In this world, there's, for all intents and purposes, basically zombies. For some reason, certain people basically become reanimated after death, and they have to be fed essence in order to continue, and they're seen as kind of these godlike beings. And so there is like a god emperor who kind of rules them. And so there are 2 sisters, Vivenna, and I can't remember the other sister's name, but one of the sisters is promised to be the like god emperor's wife. But when the time comes to send his daughter off to marry, he loves the daughter more that he was supposed to send and sends the daughter that he loves less, which, rude, but he sends her off and we kind of see her interactions and find out more about what's going on in this world. There's cool magic with chromatic breaths and lots of action, and it's just a great time. It's just phenomenal. You should read Warbreaker already. Question 11 is party anywhere. Pick a book set in a time period, world, or country you would have liked to be born in. And as I've gotten older, I've just become more and more like comfortable with myself, I guess I would say. So like, I don't really have a dream or a wish that I was born somewhere else or that my experiences were vastly different. Because at the end of the day, I'm in that place where I am happy with who I am. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today without all of the things that I went through, all of the people that were around me, and the place that I grew up in. And so I don't really have an answer for this question. So I feel like it's a little bit of a cop-out, but also I'm happy with who I am, and I wouldn't have wanted to be born somewhere else. Question number 12 is 30 Plus Club. Name a book or series with a protagonist who is 30 years or older. And so I have a couple answers here because I don't totally remember. So I really like The Band of Four. This is by Ed Greenwood. Book 1 is The Kingless Land. I remember there's like a curmudgeon-y healer. There's like a skanky sorceress who is like the daughter of a baron, but he wants to like use her to basically become like a magical battery. And so she tries to have these rogues help her escape. And then we go on this adventure because the kingless land was not meant to be kingless. There's like a prophecy that the king will return. And so It's very classic adventure fantasy vibes, but I'm pretty sure at least one of them is over 30. But just to cover my bases, I also have the basic answer of Stormlight. However, I'm not going to talk about Dalinar because I actually really, really like Navani. She is one of my favorite characters. I love her. She is like this researcher, scientist, and just curious about the world and just pushes back on gender norms, I feel like. And she is phenomenal, and she really has her moment to shine in one of the Stormlight books in particular. And so I just love Navani. So I'm going to say Stormlight. Or I've never read this one, but I hear about it talked about mainly by Elle, and that is The Wolf of Orren-Yaro. And I feel like the protagonist is like a mom trying to get back to her child or something along those lines. And I feel like she's maybe 30 plus. I probably should have done some more research, but you want to know, it's my birthday and I didn't want to. So, okay, question 13. We are now on Birthday Memories, a book that represents who you were when you were younger. So when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Egyptian mythology, like obsessed. To the point where when I was 13, my mom did what she called the Vacation of Dreams. And so we went on a 10-week trip where we went to Egypt for me, Greece for my brother, and then my mom always wanted to go to Italy, so we went to Italy as well. And so like literally obsessed with Egyptian mythology. So I would say a series that has a fun twist of Egyptian mythology is the Kane Chronicles by Uncle Rick, Mr. Rick Riordan. It is the tale of Sadie and Carter, the Kane siblings, and I feel like a parental figure dies, and so they're kind of sent to live with an uncle and get whisked into these kind of machinations of the Egyptian gods. There is hieroglyph magic. It is middle grade fun. Just when you want just a fun pick-me-up with Egyptian mythology, you're welcome. Then question 14 is this birthday. Pick a book that represents where you are in life now. And so currently I am in the 5th and final year of my PhD in biochemistry. And so I'm very much embroiled in science and research, and so I thought a fun one that kind of represents that would be Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. The book, unlike the movie, actually has a lot more information about the DNA and the manipulations that they did to the dinosaurs and stuff like that, and so it has a lot of actually pretty accurate science from what I can remember from when I read the book. And so it's what would happen if we as humans decided to use our power with genome editing to bring the dinosaurs back from extinction. And so it really is kind of, I guess that's sci-fi. It's like one of the only sci-fi books I like, if it counts as sci-fi, because it is science and it is fictional, so it counts. And Jurassic Park is just phenomenal. If you love the movies, you'll probably also love the book. And it's just, I am a scientist. It's about science, so there you go. And then question 15 is every birthday, a book that represents something that has never changed about you. And so for this one, I picked The 99 Boyfriends of Micah Summers. I can't remember who it's by off the top of my head, but I'll put the cover up on the screen. I think it's like Adam Sass or something like that. And this is just an adorable, like YA queer contemporary by a gay male author. It's very much Micah is just in love with love and has this like very romantic image in his mind of what it will be like when he has her first boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. And I am somebody who has forever been kind of a hopeless romantic, and I believe in true love. And I'm lucky enough that I met my person back when I was much younger. I didn't really date at all in junior high or high school. I was too much of like an emo boy, to be honest. So I kind of just filled my time with other stuff. So I also didn't really feel safe in the town that I was in, kind of being super lovey-dovey with somebody like on campus. But I was in theater and martial arts and all this other stuff to kind of eat up my time. So I never dated in high school. And then the fall after I graduated high school, I met my husband, who now we are going on 14 years together this November and 5 years married in May. And so I just believe in finding your one person and kind of growing together and adjusting your outlook on life and realizing that real, true romance and love is a great foundation for things, but true open communication is also best, and being honest with who you are and being able to be who you are with the person you're with. And I think The 99 Boyfriends of Micah Summers really has all of those things in spades. And then just to finish it off on a happy note, question 16 is Happy Music, a book with some beautiful and truly memorable quotes. And what fantasy book has better and more memorable quotes than The Lord of the Rings? Not all who wander are lost. There's just so much. Like, Tolkien was a true master of the English language, and there are some phenomenal and beautiful quotes throughout that trilogy. or one book, depending on how it's bound and public, whatever. You know what I mean. But if you want truly memorable quotes, then you should look no further than The Lord of the Rings. But that concludes this fun little birthday tag. I hope you got some more insight into me as a human being and maybe some cool book recommendations. I just thought it would be a fun way to celebrate my birthday to have this little tag go up. And that will be it from me and Katya for today. If it's your birthday and you're a booktuber, or you're not a booktuber but you want to answer some of these questions in the comments, feel free. I would love to hear anything that you'd like to share. If you want to leave an emoji, go ahead and leave like a little birthday cake or something just for funsies. That'll kind of wrap it up for today. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!